Good evening and welcome to Life on Earth Bookmaking. So you're going to want to open up your kit, get yourself situated and ready to take this workshop. You're going to need your needle and thread, which is in between the boards of your kit. If I were you, I would thread my needle as soon as possible, just because it can be pretty difficult. Okay, I got it. So I'm switching around the pages. I'm trying to find an order that I like. And I think that I'm just going to sort of do it as randomly as possible. Once I have my stack, I want to kind of get it all together and fold it in half. I'm going to show you how to make 3 holes sort of with your eyeball and an awl. This is sort of the quick and dirty way to make a book. 1 in the middle, and 1 on either side, sort of evenly. Yes, you can measure it, and yes, it can be perfect, but it doesn't have to be. So now I'm going to sew, and it depends on whether I want the tie on the inside or the outside is where I'm going to enter. So, let's try again. Inside it is. Leave a little tail. Then I'm going to go to one of the holes on the either side from the position I am on the outside of the book. And then I'm going to skip the center hole and go in that way. I'll find myself where I start by going back in the middle hole. Then sometimes you just have to use the tools around you to help you. So I cut it off together, leaving like a little bit of an even tail on the end. And now I'm going to get ready to make the cover of the book. I love this little thing. So you're going to want your boards, grab them, and you're going to use this wallpaper, which is super awesome. Lay it out as if you would a book. You're going to want to leave a 3/4 of an inch spine in between the 2 boards. What I'm saying is you want to set it up kind of evenly in whatever way that makes sense to you. So I'm marking it so that I can then pick my boards up and apply the glue. This is an example of how you can make a guide for yourself if you're working with limited materials. So go ahead and spread out your wallpaper, aka book cloth, and get ready to start gluing. Make sure you have some scrap paper on hand. So this is the fun part. You'll want to apply an even layer of glue on each board and place it down on the wallpaper in the correct spot. Make sure you press it down really well. Board by board, flip it over and push out all the air, and making sure that the paper is completely flat on the board. Now you're going to repeat the process on the other side. And of course, you're going to use your guide to help you. Make sure the air goes out, not in. I like to take my ruler and make sure it's even on the bottom. Now I'm going to trim up the edges so that the perimeter is even, and cut the corners at a 45-degree angle so that I can make the fold-ins nice and neat. Now I'm going to use the book to form the book and fold in all the flaps of paper so that I can prep for gluing. Use scrap paper underneath so that you can glue the paper really, really well down, making sure that you get all the edges really well glued. Of course, it goes without saying that you should cover up any wet glue that's exposed. So you'll do the same thing on the other side. I like to conserve the paper. And I'm pressing it all down very well. I try to fold in the little corners as neat as possible and make sure I glue it well, but not too well. You don't want it to be super wet. And you'll see me sort of wiggle my fingers together sometimes, and it's because I'm trying to get the glue off of my fingers. So keep a towel nearby. All right, press down all those edges. You now have the cover and interior, so we're going to make the two components one. Always sort of double check that it'll work before you start. So this is demonstrating a method of casing in the book just using the outside page of the signature. So I just took the cardstock and I put it on the outside. I glued directly on the paper because it's just easier for me for this small book. It's also long and a little hard to handle, so I just try to kind of be as direct as possible with it. I found that when I put it on the edge of the board like you would sometimes do, the book actually worked better when the signature was pressed into the spine. So I recommend really putting it directly in the center. You can see what I'm saying here as I try to get the book to kind of work. So in the end, I ended up happy with it, especially when I let it dry overnight and set. But I decided that I wanted to give it a little more of a cleaner finish, even though you'd think if I use a page it would go all the way to the end. So I just added an end page and called it a day. Of course, I did it to the other side as well. And honestly, I love the result. I'll probably press it again for a while. And so, here we are. Here is the Life on Earth creative book.